Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18 plus.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show Podcast, Hour 2.
Hello there. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number 877-973-7425. I broadcast out of Georgia. My flagship station, WSB, is in Atlanta. And I have gotten to be friends with a guy named David Huey who got me interested in a nonprofit called Hungry for a Day. And the concept of Hungry for a Day is very simple. You calculate what you spend for a day in food. You don't eat that day. You give that money to Hungry for a Day. And then they help feed a family. And you tell your friends about it and spread the word. And if you need to eat, that's fine. But, the whole idea is there are people hungry every day. You might consider going hungry for one day so that those folks might have food. And at this time of year, they are very focused on Thanksgiving meals for families in need. And so joining me by phone is my friend David Huey, who absconded to the beach and goes down there in the wintertime. I'm a little jealous. Not going to hold that against you, man. But thank you for joining me. Can you actually just talk a little bit about the background of Hungry for a Day and how this project began?
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks, Eric. Man, always good to be on the show. So we started Hungry for a Day about 11 years ago, and the idea was, we live very blessed lives. And me and my wife, she makes me save some money every year so we can hopefully retire. We go on nice vacations. We're involved. We do some volunteer things, but I had this, I don't know if you want to call it a midlife crisis or an epiphany, but it was, what am I doing that actually makes a difference in the world? So we started Hungry for a Day, got together with a great group of people. And like you said, Hungry for a Day is about living generously and giving out of our excess to help somebody else that actually really needs help.
Well, okay, so now let's talk about the where rubber meets the road right now is we've got higher food costs for everybody. More expensive Thanksgiving this year. You've got people struggling already in the economy. And so for $40, what will Hungry for a Day wind up doing for a family?
Yeah, so what I love about what we do at Thanksgiving is we're not just saying, hey, here's a turkey, but we're giving these families the same kind of meals that you and me are going to eat. And I know I've eaten with you. I know you eat well, I eat well. And so we're giving away a turkey. We're giving away all the sides. Just the corn, the green beans, the mac and cheese, sweet potatoes, cranberry sauce, the whole 9 yards. So that's what we'll be providing. And $40 will provide a family of 4 an entire Thanksgiving meal.
Wow. Okay. So can you talk about the logistics of this? How does this work? What goes to putting all this together?
Yeah. So we have partnered with food banks, shelters, those kinds of organizations literally across the country. I'm based in Atlanta, and so a lot of the organizations that we help are in the Atlanta area. But this year, or over the past 8 years that we've been doing this Thanksgiving project, we've expanded and we have nationwide projects where I was on the phone earlier today with a women and children's shelter in California. We're helping a food pantry up in two different food pantries in the Boston area. We're helping an organization up in Detroit, Michigan. We're down in Tampa, Florida. So we're literally coast to coast, north to south, east to west. And there's organizations that have identified families that need help this year. They have the infrastructure to handle it, but what they don't have is they don't have the funds. And when we fund a meal, it's enabling them to put a meal in the hands of a family that really needs help this year. And like you said, inflation is crazy. We talked about this last year briefly, you and me, and we talked about how this is the most expensive Thanksgiving in history. And this year, I think costs are up an additional 14% for the meal. So it's, the needs are bigger this year than they've ever been. My wife went to the grocery store the other day and she paid I don't know if it's a grocery store, but whatever store she was at, she paid $6.50 for a gallon of milk. So I can't even imagine what turkeys and all the rest of this is costing the family.
Listen, as the guy who goes to the grocery store to buy the milk has actually gotten expensive, and we go through usually a gallon or two a week, depending on the kids' demands. And I mean, just the price of milk has gone up, and eggs are even more ridiculous. We go through more eggs than milk in the house, and you go bankrupt on eggs alone, it seems like these days. Now, let me ask you something else here. I know you have done a lot of charitable work. I was talking earlier, my father-in-law runs a soup kitchen in Carroll County here in Georgia, and has mentioned to me the trouble sometimes getting volunteers who, they may show up one-off, but then they don't come back, and there just seems to be like a real need for also volunteers out there right now.
Yeah, we partner with different organizations, and there's always a need for that. And I think what I'd recommend is just, like you said, look up your local food pantry, your local shelter, and especially this time of year. Most of them are doing something extra special for Thanksgiving. They'll be doing it during Thanksgiving. They'll be doing it during Christmas, and there's almost always a need for volunteers.
Yeah, there is. Okay, so folks, David set up this website for me. You did a pretty good job on setting this up. It looks good. If you go to Eric Thanksgiving, ERICK, Thanksgiving.com, or just text donate to 33777, I'll send you the link, and you can go donate. My wife and I have donated. I'll just put it on the line there. We did $200. We cover the processing fee, so $206. And hope others will step up as well. It's such a good idea. What does Hungry for a Day do beyond just Thanksgiving? Yeah,
so what we're doing is throughout the years, we're trying to inspire generosity. And we do that around hunger-related causes. We've helped organizations domestically. We helped, last year we helped a food pantry that needed a freezer and refrigerator, commercial refrigerator and freezer, to be able to expand their efforts. So we were able to fund that. A few years ago, we helped start a food truck. A really cool concept. What they do is they go out one weekend with volunteers and they sell these fancy gourmet peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'm talking like cashew nut butter, and there's basil on them, and these homemade preserves. And whatever they make in food sales that week, they turn around and use that money to feed the homeless the next week. So it's a self-sustaining project that's been going on for years and years now. We helped start a food pantry up in Detroit, got them going from the ground up. So these are the kind of projects that we get involved in. We've helped leper colonies in India. I didn't even realize leprosy was still a thing, but it is. We helped in the Dominican Republic, an organization that was helping disabled children. So we do projects literally around the globe throughout the year. But like you said, our biggest project that we do every year is Thanksgiving. And this is just a time of the year when people need help. And I think what most people are thinking of this year, like their mindset is, am I going to get my annual Christmas bonus? Am I going, is weird Uncle Joe coming over for Thanksgiving this year? That's the kind of things we're thinking about. And the things that we stress about are actually blessings. It's Thanksgiving with the family, and it's a bonus, and it's having a job. But there's people out there that they're like, they don't know where that meal's coming from. And this year may be the first year that they don't even know how to ask for help. So we're going to get to provide hope to so many people. I'll tell you this, the website that we set up is incredible. You've already emailed it out this morning. I got the email earlier. You put it online. I saw you put it on Twitter. So I'm going to give you a little update here. I just ran this report right before I got on. There's already over $40,000 has been donated by listeners of Eric Erickson. So that's amazing.
Good gracious. That's good to know. I didn't want to ask. I'm always afraid that it's going to be really low. That's a great number for low, right? I mean, literally that's like 2 hours. I sent that email out just after 11. So that's in 2 hours, $40,000. That's incredible. And you ran that report just before you came on, so more have come in. I can see them texting through. David, let me ask you one more question here, because you mentioned something about people in need, people who may need help now. One of the things I try to emphasize to people is there are probably people in your circle of friends who are struggling and can't, because of pride or embarrassment or what have you, can't really admit it. If one of those people is listening right now who really is kind of struggling and doesn't want to admit it publicly for shame or embarrassment or pride, what's your advice?
This is what I would do. It's these organizations that are out there. they're really doing so much good in the community. And it's one of those things that there's no shame. There's people out there that love people, that care about people, that just want to help. And it's okay to ask. It's okay to say, hey, what are you guys doing to help people out this season? And usually with these food pantries, shelters, that kind of thing, it's not just a Thanksgiving meal. It's just not Christmas meals, but they're helping people year round. And they're doing groceries every week to help families out. It's okay to ask. And if you're one of those situations where I don't even know where to go, hey, go on the Hungry for a Day site, send us a note, and we'll try to help you get connected with something. If we can't find a local organization in your area, hey, we'll make sure that you get taken care of this Thanksgiving.
Listen, David, I appreciate you so much stopping by, and thanks for setting up that website this year. This is kind of cool to be able to track that as they flow through. Really appreciate your friendship and your willingness to step up and do this. Thank you. And at some point, we're going to go get barbecue again with Leroy.
Hey, we need to make that happen. I heard you met Leroy the other day. Leroy's one of our board members, and so we'll make that happen next time I'm in Atlanta. Sounds
good. All right, David Huey, thank you very much for stopping by with Hungry for a Day. Listen, I wanna say this in all sincerity. And really, listen, we'll get back to the headlines. I will take your phone calls, I promise. 877-973-7425. Let me, please let me say this. There are people out there, and I may be talking to you right now, and you may be in this position, and you are thinking, I can't pull it off this year. You are thinking financial circumstances have drained your bank account. You've maxed out your credit card. There are groups that want to help you. There are people who want to help you without judgment, without lecture, without shame. And I would submit to you, if you are in the situation where you feel some level of shame or too proud to beg, so to speak, that you understand there are people who they want to help you. And you just got to ask. And Hungry for a Day can help. And there are some of you right now who you're thinking, what can my family do this year to help other people who really need it? You're trying to look for a meaningful way for your kids to be involved. Get your kids together and talk to them and say, hey, we're going to give up going out this weekend. We're going to give up something, and we're going to use that money, and we're going to pay for a family's Thanksgiving meal. Some of you may not have to sacrifice anything to do it. And I really hope you'll consider participating. All you have to do is text donate to 33777. Those of you down at WDBO in Orlando, Hungry for a Day was down in Orlando just recently helping stock some food pantries. So the money in your area goes to your area. Those of you in WOKV in Jacksonville, same thing. Oklahoma, Ohio, Oregon, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona. They've got groups all over the country that they help. And really right now, I know people who can't admit that they're struggling right now. And you know they're struggling. You've heard the struggles. And you can help those people, invite them to your house for Thanksgiving. Add an extra couple seats at the table. Be generous. If God's been generous to you, be generous with other people, please. I dwell on this just this time of year because I understand the depression. I understand the strain. I understand the burden of trying to get the postcard perfect Thanksgiving and Christmas. Been there. Don't want others to have to go through it. If you can step up, I'm begging you, please. Text donate to 33777. When we come back, I will take your phone calls. We will move on with the rest of the news. We do need to talk about Herschel Walker. We got a lot more to go, but it's so important right now, this time of year, for us who we have plenty to share some of that with other people if we can. Text donate to 33777. I want to tell you guys a little about a group I've been working with, Americans for Prosperity. Maybe you've heard of them. They're the largest grassroots network in the country, fighting to expand freedom and opportunity so that we can unleash prosperity in America again. Here's what I like about Americans for Prosperity. They focus on building movements at the community level, not Washington, D.C. That's actually how I first came to know them, in Georgia, helping rise up the Tea Party movement in 2010. They understand we're not going to find solutions in Washington. We got to take power out of Washington. That's going to have to come from Americans like you outside the Beltway bubble. That's why I'm excited to partner with Americans for Prosperity to provide an effective platform where we can talk to our fellow Americans and advocate for solutions to the most critical challenges facing the country. I encourage you to learn more about Americans for Prosperity by going to americansforprosperity.org/Eric.
Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number 877-973-7425. Frank has been waiting super patient. Frank, welcome.
Hey, thanks a lot, Eric. You hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Hey, I wanted to just, with the House, Republicans taking over the House and, investigations. I'm wondering what the plan is with the January 6th committee. I would love to see that continue. And the first thing they do is subpoena, Nancy Pelosi and Marion Bowser to bring them in there and say, okay, well, why didn't you bring in the National Guard that Trump wanted? What are your thoughts on that?
Mike Pence was on CNN last night. He did a town hall. I was on Anderson Cooper's show before and after it, commenting on it. And he kind of made the point you're making, Frank, that the January 6th committee could have been a nonpartisan committee designed to look at the whole host of failures, including why weren't the police prepared for the crowds. In fact, let me play you some of his audio.
Look, I made the comment today that I was disappointed when the January 6th committee was formed by Speaker Pelosi, and that the Democrat Speaker of the House appointed all the members of the committee.
After McCarthy, the Republican, removed the members, his members.
But I must tell you, in my 12 years in the Congress of the United States, the idea of a partisan committee on Capitol Hill, a committee appointed by one party, was antithetical to what the Congress is.
It did happen before, though. It happened for the Katrina committee when Democratic leaders refused to cooperate. You were actually on Capitol Hill at the time. There was a Benghazi committee that was all formed by Republicans. So it's not unprecedented.
Well, and I must tell you, the principle itself was offensive to me. I thought the missed opportunity with January 6th was we could have proceeded in a way that was above politics. I mean, in the aftermath, and I make no comparison to 9/11, to the thousands of Americans that were lost that day. But after 9/11, we formed a commission that was above politics. It included representatives of both political parties. They examined every aspect of what had happened, and it informed legislation that we would enact in the years ahead that I think contributed to the safety and security of our nation. But the partisan nature of the committee troubled me. But that being said, I never stood in the way of my senior staff cooperating and even testifying before the committee. But as I said today, the January 6th committee, Congress has no right to my testimony, because under the Constitution of the United States, as vice president, we had two co-equal branches of government. The Congress doesn't report to the White House doesn't report to the Congress.
Listen, he's right on that. There is no precedent for the executive branch leadership testifying. The cabinet level officers are required to, but even they don't talk about their conversations with the president unless the president consents. And yeah, there were a whole host of failures on January 6th. There was a massive security breakdown, and there could have been a bipartisan willingness. And the reason Kevin McCarthy pulled the Republicans from the committee is that the Democrats made very clear they had no intention of doing anything other than going after Donald Trump on that. And that, I think, genuinely matters, that there are still a lot of unanswered security questions. I want to take your calls when we come back, 877-973-7425. I got to talk, though, about the Walker-Warnock race down in Georgia. Democrats have hit on an interesting argument in the race. basically give up Republicans. You can't win anyway. It's up to you as a Republican to prove them wrong. And I got a lot of emails from people yesterday when I said I really wasn't excited about voting again. I would, but I wasn't excited. A lot of people telling me they're very excited, and they're, if for lack of a better word, meta commentary on this. Also, I've been telling you about that 3% county by county shift to the GOP. The data is actually really fascinating because I turned out to be right when I said it was a Schrodinger's election. There was a wave if you didn't look at it. If you looked at it, there was no wave. There actually was. 3% in every county in America shifted to the GOP, but it wasn't enough to do big. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson nationwide. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, let's go to the phones. Fernando, you're going to be up next. Welcome.
Hey, Eric. It's good to hear from you again. I haven't spoken to you since Rush passed away.
Oh, well, thank you for calling.
Yeah, you've been a celebrity. That's why it's been quite difficult. But I want to point this out, Eric. To start off, I'm a black man, live in Georgia, grew up in Georgia for a long time now, and grew up in the worst communities. Maurice was saying this is that, I think the issue that that I have with Herschel Walker ads is that they're missing the bigger point in the black community. For one, he comes across as generic. And Raphael Warnock, he's coming more across like a politician, even though he says up and down he's not trying to be a politician, doesn't want to be a politician. He sounds more and more like Barack Obama every day, and that's intentional. I'm being accepted for that. His delivery is always good, but it's just a bunch of misleads and just lies. I don't know why they won't point out the hypocrisy in his ads. He uses the word of the Lord when it's convenient for him. In the same way that he uses that office, to his own benefit, takes your votes and does everything that he knows that's the opposite of what it takes to benefit these poor communities and stuff like that. I wish they would point out the specifics in that and tune and fine tune on that, because that's the issue with Herschel Walker ads. I think they're missing the larger point. He needs to point out these issues and how the guy he quotes scriptures. In fact, he doesn't even quote the scriptures accurately, and that's by design.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he definitely cherry picks scripture.
That's right. And one more thing I forgot to mention that I heard a couple. I'm not going to name drop, but I heard one of the hosts say a while back, 2 weeks ago, I believe, that black people that the black community hate Governor Kemp. That is a lie. That's an absolute lie. The problem here, the problem with this right here is that most black people that vote Democrat have no idea what they're voting for. If they would do a poll on that, they will see that. And the only reason most of Stacey Abrams votes in the black community that I know about and the people that I talk to, because my job allows me to talk to many different people, especially black people. And the issue, the thing that's funny fascinating about that is that most of them vote for her because she's black. That's it. Mm-hmm. That is it. They don't know what they're voting for. That stuff needs to be outlined.
Yeah, look, I got to tell you, first of all, Fernando, thank you very much for the phone call. Great points. And, yeah, Brian Kemp actually did very well with the black vote and the Hispanic vote and the Asian vote. Black men in particular did a good job. I got to play you all some of this clip that is circulating to make Herschel Walker look bad, circulated by a left-wing reporter, Aaron Rupar. Just listen to this. I actually find it endearing. I don't think it makes him look bad. He's just telling a funny story on stage.
I want to tell you to keep the faith. Oh, you ever watch a stupid movie late at night hoping it's going to get better, don't get better, but you keep watching it anyway? Because the other night I was watching this movie. I was watching this movie called Freak Night, or some type of night, but it was about vampires. I don't know if you know vampires are some cool people, are they not? But I'm going to tell you something that I found out. A werewolf can kill a vampire. Did you know that? I never knew that, so I didn't want to be a vampire anymore. I wanted to be a werewolf. But then anyway, as I'm watching this movie, and then you can tell how stupid it is because it's 1 a.m. So I'm watching my TV, these kids watching their TV, a vampire kill on their TV. So you know it's kind of stupid, but I'm still watching though. As I'm watching this show, what was funny, these kids had a vampire in their attic at their house. So they was watching their TV. Now I'm watching my TV as they watching their TV, or they see the vampire killer on their TV. So they win this contest to bring this actor. Now y'all got to stay with me. bring this actor who's a vampire killer from that TV to get rid of this real life vampire, and they're at it. So as this actor comes to their home, he got all the right stuff. He got all the right stuff because you got to have a stake and got to have a thing to kill him in the heart. And he got a necklace of garlic because that worked. I don't know what it does, but it worked. You got to have a cross because it burns. I know that worked. And then all of a sudden, this is what was so funny about it. As they're walking through the house, this guy got the holy water. He's blessing the house, this actor. Now, he's all fake. He's blessing the house with this holy water. They walked upstairs and this vampire looking real good in this black suit. Whoa, that sounds like Senator Warnock, doesn't it? Looking all good in this black suit, floated from the ceiling. He floated from the ceiling looking good and cool. And I'm thinking, whoa, they better get out of that house. If somebody float from your ceiling, get out of that house. That's not your house. But as he floated from the ceiling, the kids jumped behind their hero. As they jumped behind their hero, the guy jumped in front of him with this holy water, threw it on the vampire's forehead. He covered his eyes. Then he took his hand away. He started laughing. And he said, that don't work. He took the cross, he put it on the vampire's forehead. And the vampire didn't even do anything. He said, that don't work. And that's the way it is in our life. It doesn't work unless you got faith. It is time for us to have faith. We got to have faith in our fellow brother. We got to have faith in this country. We got to have faith in the elected officials. And right now, that's the reason I'm here.
Listen, the left is ridiculing this. Said, oh, he talked about vampires. I say he was watching a movie, and his whole point was you got to have faith. If you don't have faith, it doesn't work. You can say all the things you want to say, but if you don't really believe them, it's not true. And they're ridiculing him for making a point that is actually a good point and using the analogy of the terrible movie he stayed up late and watched on TV. This is kind of the elitist attitude here. Oh, he stayed up late and watched a stupid movie, and he's telling people on stage about it. He's not giving an Obama-esque speech. No, he's a normal person watching a goofy movie late at night and recounting that to make a point about faith. And now the Democrats are saying, oh, he's such an idiot. Don't go vote Republicans. He can't win anyway. Now, I got to tell you, I said yesterday, I'm not excited, and I know a lot of people are going to say it'll only be, they've already lost the Senate, why vote? And my point was that, well, it actually makes for a better go in 2024 if you pad the margin now. And also, several people pointed out in an email, what I should have said as well is if it's 50-50, it's easier for the Republicans to stop bad judges. It gives no room for error for the Democrats on the committees because the committees will largely be tied, 12 Republicans, 12 Democrats on committees, if it's a 50-50 Senate. And so it makes it easier to stop bad judges. There's a real incentive for every Republican to go out and vote for Herschel Walker right there is because it will tie the committees. If there's a tie in the Senate, it will make it easier for the Republicans to block bad initiatives. So please do consider going and voting for Herschel Walker. The runoff is December 6th. But there's something else here, too, that I got to say. And I want to get back to phone calls here in a minute, but let me say this. I was struck by a lot of emails I got, and you guys are always more than welcome to email me, eric@ewerickson.com. I was struck by the familiarity in the emails, and it reminded me how impressed I am with you guys and the relationship we've developed through a radio show where I am just a voice. I was on CNN the other day. I think I told some of you. Was on CNN. I was supposed to be at the CNN Center on TV on Aaron Burnett's show 2 nights ago. And I guess there was an Atlanta Hawks game. I could not get to CNN. Could visibly see the parking lot, and the police would not let me go to the parking lot. Where I got there 15 minutes early, spent 15 minutes trying to get there. Couldn't. And finally, they called and said, look, if you just go down the street and find a parking spot, we'll bring you in by phone. And I said, sure. It took me a little bit, pulled over on the side of the road, got on my phone, was using my speakerphone in my car, and a homeless man tried to smash the window in my car. Literally just started punching my window. I slammed on the gas, got out of there. I was going through a green light right down there by the state capitol. Somebody ran their red light because I had a green light. That guy came through. I had to swerve, and I wound up going onto the on-ramp on the interstate while I'm live on TV, trying not to sound freaked out, and I am totally like panic mode, anxiety attack. And they just had the voice of Eric Erickson was what the crowd said, the voice of Eric Erickson. And here I am with you guys, and I'm just the voice on radio. I got a face for radio and a voice for print, and you guys stick with me. And I got just the nicest emails from people saying, hey, I wish you would have said this. I wish you wouldn't have said this. And I want to reset the parameters here to tell you, I'm never going to lie to you guys about what I think. And I may not tell you everything I think, but I'm not going to lie to you. But I appreciate your willingness to disagree and disagree respectfully in email. But I do just want you to know my job is not to carry water for a party or a candidate. I don't view it that way. And I know some hosts do. Some hosts are just cheerleading, throw you the red meat, let's drag Nancy Pelosi today, ding dong, the witch is dead, and all that. And I don't think I come across genuinely when I do stuff like that because I don't really buy into it. It's not my personality. And I just want to be honest and real with you guys on the radio, whether it's good or bad. I try not to be the angry talk radio show host because I'm generally, it takes a lot to really hack me off. But I just want to say I appreciated the emails from you all last night saying you disagree, that none of my friends are really excited about going back and voting, and they all will. Nobody's really excited. I'm not either. And I wanted to express that to you, that I'm not excited, but I'm going to go do it. Some of you are very fired up about it and were upset with me for not being fired up. I don't share your level of excitement about it, but I do share your level of excitement about showing the Democrats we can still win a runoff in Georgia. And that's why I want to go vote, because I want to show if the Republicans get their head back in the game, we actually can win this thing. And I hope you will get your head in the game and that you will go vote on December 6th or get an absentee ballot, vote early. The GOP used to crush absentee balloting and early voting, and they kind of been talked out over the last 4 years. I want you to go vote. I want you to have a massive turnout. I want to get this guy across the finish line. I want to keep a 50-50 Senate so the committees are also tied so we have greater ability to obstruct the judges. Now, back to the phones here. Daniel, going to go to you next. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Eric, you kind of beat me to the punch there with why people should not go vote. I've been talking with people out door knocking for Herschel Walker. Some people are like, well, why vote if it's going to be 50-50? Because Kamala Harris is going to take the tiebreaker on situations. But I said, not always the case. I said, look at Joe Manchin. He sometimes votes for the Republican. If I understand correctly, he wants to do that. And secondly, I got to more and more thinking after I've been getting constant texts by Herschel Walker, and I have tried to reach back out to their campaign. I said, I'm going out to vote. I support you, but I'm not going to give you any more money. And when you were talking about that and the giving today, the cause that's going on about Thanksgiving, instead of giving to the political campaigns, every time they call me, I'm going to give it to the Thanksgiving thing rather than them.
Good for you.
I feel like
Listen,
they don't need it more than the Giving Project does.
Undoubtedly, the GOP needs money. Daniel, thank you for the phone call and for your generosity. Undoubtedly, the GOP needs money, but they got a lot of billionaires who can help float this. Mitch McConnell's dumping $14.2 million in. There are a lot of people who can't afford their Thanksgiving meal. They need your money more. I hate to dissuade people from giving to a candidate, but there are a lot of people this time of year need to put a Thanksgiving turkey on the table and can't afford it. So text DONATE to 33777. Al, you're up next. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Eric.
Hi there.
Hey, I'm going to agree with you on one thing, just for chuckles. You have a face for radio.
Yes, I do.
But you have a hell of a voice.
Thank you.
Okay. Actually, I was just surprised that you did. You looked nothing like I thought you looked, which is okay. The question, the issue I had, not issue, but I've noticed that, and you said this too, that people were trying to convince Republicans, don't vote, you don't have a chance. There was a guy, supposedly he's an influencer and used to be politically active, claims to be independent. He's from Skidaway Island. You may know who this is. But he said, don't vote because it doesn't make a difference, meaning 50-50 or 49-51. And like you just said in the last 10 minutes, it makes a hell of a difference, a lot of difference.
Yeah, it really does. The committees under the rules of the Senate have to have an equal number of Republicans as Democrats if it's 50-50.
Yes.
So if a Democrat doesn't show up to vote, then the Republicans are in charge. Or honestly, not to be that way, but if God forbid something happens to a Democrat, suddenly the Republicans take over. 50-50 Senate really matters. Al, thanks for the phone call. I gotta take a break, and before I do, I gotta tell you, Patriot Mobile is trying to help as well. And one of the ways they help is they take the profits you help them generate and apply it to the conservative movement. You can become a member of Patriot Mobile simply by calling them 972-PATRIOT, saying you want them to be your cell phone provider. They can take your existing number and port it over to them. They can give you a new phone number, and they give 100% of their money to conservative causes within reason. Obviously, they keep some of their profits to grow the business, but they designate a good portion of those profits to the conservative causes. They also give you some great discounts. So if you're a veteran, first responder, NRA member, teacher, you get great discounts, and you also do business with a company that shares your values. You can go to patriotmobile.com/Eric, patriotmobile.com/ERICK, or call them 972-PATRIOT. Tell them you want to do business with them. Tell them I sent you. You get free activation, and you are doing business with a company that shares your values and wants to help the causes you care about. patriotmobile.com/Eric. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan, wherever you are nationwide. If you want your business to grow, reach out to First Liberty, and they can help you. Big deal, big loans, $750,000 or more. FirstLibertyGA.com. Now, when we come back, I want to talk to you about that red wave data. I want you to be able to see it for yourselves as well. If you text data to 33777, get the link to my Substack, and you can see it in the show notes. I also want to warn you about some data that's coming out. Home prices, according to the Dallas Fed, could drop as much as 20%. There's a surge in mortgage rates that is dissuading buyers, and they're expecting the home values to begin to decline. Home buyers right now must make $87,000 a year to buy a typical Dallas-Fort Worth home. With the Fed rate going up, that's going to price more people out of the housing market, and housing prices are expected to go down. On top of that, a buddy of mine is friends with a guy who makes a lot of cardboard for businesses, for boxes and packaging, particularly like Amazon and things like that. And he was telling me that their orders for cardboard have collapsed, which suggests a coming collapse in spending of the American consumer, which suggests there are economic problems coming. Now, all of that is to say this. Yes, you knew it was coming. People are already starting to struggle, particularly just putting a meal on the table for Thanksgiving is extraordinarily expensive. And if you can donate, I am trying to raise money for Hungry for a Day. They're trying to feed 35,000 families this year who are struggling. The more generous we are, the more we can do. You can text donate to 33777. I'll send you a link to their donation portal. 100% is tax deductible. They've got groups that are helping with the processing and groups that are helping with the packing and groups that are helping provide the meals. They just need you to help them buy the turkeys and the stuffing and the mac and cheese and stuff like that. So text donate to 33777. Something economically bad does appear to be stirring, even as, for example, Goldman Sachs is saying they think we're going to be okay. I'm trusting the home builders out there who are starting to see major declines, and the inflation rate is still high but going down, which suggests actually that there may in some way be a path forward without the Fed having to raise rates too much higher. But typically when the Feds do raise rates more than a point, we get a recession within a year, so that should be coming up within the next year, seeing an economic slowdown in the country. When we come back, I've been calling it Schrodinger's wave. Maybe too clever, maybe too esoteric for some people. You know Schrodinger's cat. It's dead if you look at it. It's alive if you don't look at it. It's quantum mechanics, quantum physics. This is Schrodinger's election. There was a red wave if you don't look at it. If you look at it, there was no red wave. The data out there is actually really compelling. I want to walk you through that before we transition into some of the economic conversation we're going to have. And I'll take your calls, 877-973-7425 across the country.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office.
More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.